just wait. One's on it.
Okay.
I just want to comment on something you said, sir.
Yes, sir.
I would hope before our next meeting that we will be able to hone in on the dates that we've established tonight for meetings and where they're going to be. So everybody will know 8 months in advance where the meetings will be. And we just have to work on that, and we haven't had much time to do that.
Right.
The second comment I have, Sarah, is that we have been, Cherry Hill has been working for the past year and a half, possibly 2 years, with shared services with Merchantville. And we,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Continue
and
that march.
we have,
Yeah.
and I
It's
know
working.
it's working, and I know what shared services mean. And I think that this commission is going to study all of that, or has to study all that. I shouldn't say is. They have to study all that, because whatever is going to be in the best interest of both communities will be brought forward, not just for one. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tommy on Merchantville. This question was partially asked, I guess, and I was a little confused by Richard's nonverbal communication. You were asked about the funding for the consultant. My question is the funding for the whole process. Have you identified your sources of funding, and if so, what are they?
I'm going to say we can't do that. We couldn't do that until we form ourselves as a commission. So until tonight, there was no possibility for us to go to anybody to say, what will you do, what money can you give us? So right now, we tonight can begin the process of finding that out. But until tonight, we're not legally allowed to do that. So, you know, we'll report back to you as soon as we, you know, what our results have been, you know, as we go through and pursue funding.
If I can also
Yes.
comment, it's obvious that a big chunk of the cost of this commission will be the consultancy. As a result, you can hardly go ask for an amount of money to support this, the budget and the activities of this commission without knowing how much the consultant's going to cost.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, Dan, at the end of the table here, is saving us about $10,000 by agreeing to be the secretary for the commission, so we don't have to pay for it. Right. And we'll see what we can do at the end. You maybe find it out. But that's part of you know, what we've already done to shave about $10,000 off of what most other studies have already done in order to streamline our process and to keep the cost as minimal as we can make them. Yeah, we have another question back here, Marvin, before you, if you don't mind. Yes.
Yes, my name is Robert Shin. I live at White Oak Court in Cherry Hill, and I'm here as the co-chair of the Cherry Hill Reform Committee. I just have a couple of questions and a point to make. The first question is, what is the position of the mayor and local government here in Merchantville with respect to this commission? Are they willing to pay their share of its operating costs? That's my first question. Can anybody answer that?
I can answer as a councilman here in town. The formal position for mayor and council was that we were supportive of the study, but we are not in a position financially to be able to bear any of the costs associated with such a study.
So it's Merchantville's local government expectation that Cherry Hill pay the cost?
No, it was our expectation that the commission would seek funding outside of both municipalities in order to secure the study or complete the study. Now, what Merchantville Borough did do was where we were able to provide support, in-kind services to support the commission, we will do so. Like, for instance, rental of this facility here tonight was waived by Borough Council, normally, which would be a cost associated with it.
Just to follow up, then, does the state, I understand from reading the papers, that the state's willing to provide up to, I heard the governor say 20% of the cost of consolidation. Is that only after the fact, or does that include the cost of doing a study?
I couldn't tell you how much funds or what source of funding is available from the state at this time, and I think that the nature of that funding and the amount, obviously, as I said before, is tied to what the ultimate budget would be. So
So the intent is to make an application. I'm sorry?
They're not doing back and forth.
They're not doing back and forth.
Interrogating.
Are you not?
Okay, yeah, well, we'd like you to finish your comments and then we'll,
I have a question. And
Yeah,
I don't know how to
finish your
do it.
question, yeah, and
Question,
then-
I get an answer.
and then we'll come to, we'll make sure your questions are answered before you
Well,
leave.
the point is, I'd like to know what the committee's process is going to be for obtaining funds to support the consolidation study. Except that Merchantville is unwilling to provide any contribution. Other than the in-kind that you said. You don't have to answer now.
No, well, I'll address that after we're finished with
The other,
Yes, I'm sorry, another
the other
question.
point I wanted to make was, in the hearing that you had, I guess, informally in the summer, before you became an official commission, I had raised a couple of points that I would urge you, now that you're official commission, take into consideration. The first is that it's my understanding that under any consolidation, the tax rates, the equalized tax rates of the two communities will be merged into one. And when we examined the existing equalized tax rates of the two communities and the equalized property value of the two communities, if a consolidation were to occur and not provide any savings whatsoever, in other words, everything just stays the same, which I know is not the case, but just as a starting point. It appears from the data that's available that Merchantville taxpayers would save about $1.4 million, but Cherry Hill taxpayers' rates would go up $1.4 million. That's because there's a difference in the equalized tax rates between the two communities. Now, no one has responded to the point I made at the July meeting, because I guess it's still unofficial, nobody was responding. Before you get really deep into your work, I would ask that you ask one of the committees, I guess it's your finance subcommittee, to specifically put on your agenda and perhaps put in the charge of a consultant to determine whether there is, under state law, an equitable way to allocate any benefits that will come from a consolidation. Since right now, it's my understanding that because you have to have a uniform equalized tax rate, it starts off as the first a benefit comes to the Merchantville taxpayer, and its cost goes to the Cherry Hill taxpayers. So that even if you were to save, for example, 25% of Merchantville's budget as a result of consolidation, what they spend right now, all that savings would accrue to Merchantville taxpayers, and none would accrue to Cherry Hill. So if you expect Cherry Hill voters to ultimately support such a consolidation, I think it's incumbent upon you as a consolidation commission to at least explore to determine if there is an equitable way to allocate any benefits that will come. Because it's my understanding tax rates have to be equalized. You understand?
Yes, yeah, and I or someone else will come back to that.
Thank you.
Okay. Marvin, did you have another?
Yes, I don't see on the agenda that you're planning to address. We're finding the funding. Are we to assume that this will be an executive committee decision, or will be a full commission decision? And I wanted to ask a question about the slate that the Merchantville petitioners put forth for this commission. My assumption is that Mr. Perno is not a delegate or a liaison of Merchantville Council. And
Actually, I
actually sit with
the full support of the Merchantville Council out of the public vote. There was a resolution drawn up and adopted by Borough Council authorizing me to sit as representative.
Okay, so you are a liaison.
I'm not a liaison, I
No,
sit with the
commissioner.
full support. So I asked permission to sit on this commission. They endorsed that position that I sit on this commission. Not as a liaison, but, you know, that I'm allowed to sit on the commission, so they voted for as a member of the commission.
As a representative of council?
Not as representative council, but with their support.
So
and
you're a council
endorsement.
member incidentally as part of
Right.